Hello, concerned PSN fans. Now that the PlayStation Network is working properly, we need to know who is entitled to get the free PS Plus compensation and how to check if you have it. Sony is announcing the compensation that players will get for their trouble. This was not a hack, according to Sony, but they have offered nothing like a detailed explanation, saying only that this was an operational issue without going into detail about what that means exactly. A PlayStation Network outage is exactly what you don't need on a weekend, but it's unfortunately what you had for over 24 hours. With Sony offering free access to PS Plus for select users following the lengthy PlayStation outage, here's how to check if you have the extension on your console, mobile, or the web. Sony is comping PS Plus members 5 days of free access after a major PlayStation Network (PSN) outage over the weekend left players unable to game or stream for 24 hours. Sony hasn't given an exact date for when the 5-day extension will take effect, but it should be added automatically before your next billing cycle. Here's everything you need to know about the outage, the compensation being offered, and how to check if you've received it. While the PlayStation Network outage was widespread, affecting both PlayStation Plus members and non-subscribers alike, it appears only existing PS Plus customers will receive the 5-day credit. This includes members on all tiers, Essential, Extra, and Premium, and on weekly or annual membership plans. There's no need to take action, as the 5 extra days will be automatically added to your subscription. Although Sony hasn't provided a specific timeline, the credit should be reflected in your account settings by your next billing cycle. To confirm if your extra days have been added, just follow these steps based on the platform you're using. For PS5 or PS4, go to the PS5 home screen. Select Settings, usually found at the top right of the screen. Scroll down and select Users and Accounts. Choose Account, followed by Payment and Subscriptions. Select Subscriptions to view your active subscriptions and their expiration date. If you're using the PlayStation app, mobile. Open the PlayStation app for iOS or Android. Log in with your PlayStation account details. Tap the PlayStation Store icon at the bottom. Open the menu by tapping the 3 horizontal lines next to PlayStation Store. Select Subscription Management now. You can then view your subscription expiration date. If you don't have any active subscriptions, it will say, "You currently do not have any subscriptions. PS Plus free for 5 days, huh?" Predictably, there's quite a bit of unhappiness around this so-called compensation here. Just a cursory glance through the replies to the announcement from Sony support gives you a good flavor of the disgruntled gamers out there. The main theme is just 5 days. What about a month? Or why aren't you giving us a free game instead? Okay, the latter is pushing it, but I must agree that 5 days feels like, how can I put this tactfully, a minimal gesture. I think Sony could have done better than that in mitigating what was clearly a lot of bad feeling from the broad PlayStation community around last weekend's spoiling, for some, outage. Geez, even non-PlayStation gamers are chipping in on Twitter saying this feels stingy from Sony. It's worth noting that far from everyone has received the 5-day bonus yet, and it's likely in the pipeline for many. The other frustrating element during this PSN outage was the lack of any communication as to what was going on from Sony. Everything was down all PlayStation services on the status dashboard, which was nothing but red lights. And yet not a peep was heard from official channels about the cause or suspected fault, or an estimated delivery time for the fix to the PlayStation Network. In some ways, that'll doubtless have been about the fear of getting something else wrong, giving false hope of a fix soon that then doesn't appear, and which only makes PlayStation owners angrier. But still, it wasn't a good situation. The final verdict emerging as just an operational issue is not much of a reason either, and that term feels very vague. Yes, apparently it was a large spanner in the works with the network infrastructure somewhere. But what kind of gremlin was crawling about in there? A little more of a clue wouldn't hurt in terms of how the fuck did this happen and how might Sony guard against this shit in the future. In fairness, a fuller explanation could be coming shortly. And service downtime happens. It's inevitable, of course. But I feel it's clear enough that the response during the outage and this final outcome and compensation could and should have been better from Sony. Sony's PlayStation Network suffered an extensive global outage from the early hours of Friday to Saturday, stretching past 24 hours and marking one of the longest unplanned downtimes for a major gaming service in recent memory. With players unable to get online, they missed out on key gaming events and promotions, including the Monster Hunter Wilds beta, Call of Duty's Double XP weekend on Black Ops 6, and Destiny 2's 48-hour contest mode, among others. The global blackout also kept players locked out of their accounts and unable to interact with friends using party chats and group chats. Despite the service coming back online, Sony has remained tight-lipped on the cause and how it was fixed. For now, all the company has said is that the outage was caused by an operational issue. The lack of transparency has sparked speculation, with some users questioning whether a hack could be responsible. While PlayStation did previously suffer a breach in 2011, which kept PSN down for a record 23 days and exposed the personal data of 77 million users, Sony has not confirmed the possibility of hacking in the latest outage. The reaction to Sony's response has been largely mixed. Many players feel the 5-day extension isn't enough, with some demanding a month's access or a free game instead. Non-PS Plus members are especially upset, as they were unable to play games or access digital content during the outage, leading to frustration over the lack of compensation for them. Beyond the issue of compensation, some players are more focused on Sony's communication during the outage. There's a growing call for transparency, with users expressing concern over the lack of explanation for the disruption and how it happened. Some claim that Sony's silence only fuels distrust, with others demanding more clarity on what steps will be taken to avoid future disruptions. So what are your opinions about this? Do you think Sony's 5-day free PS Plus compensation is acceptable? If not, let us know what Sony should have done for their users worldwide. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.